Now, there are limits to what Congress can do with respect to the President's budget, correct?
Correct.
And let's read and parse the provisions very carefully before we go into further interpellation. So let us look at Section 25, subparagraph 1. There are two sentences there. The first one is, Congress may not increase the appropriations recommended by the President for the operation of the government as specified in the budget. Correct?
Correct.
Very clear. And it says, the appropriations recommended by the President for the operation of government as specified in the budget. Correct?
Correct.
Now, Madam Solgen, there is another word, the same word budget, that appears in Article 7, the President. Correct? That was Section 22, where it said the President shall propose a budget of expenditures and sources of financing. Correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
As part of the NEP. Correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
So therefore, here it is clear that whatever is in the NEP should not be increased by Congress.
Your Honor, may I...
You will qualify.
Yes.
Because for you, the unprogrammed funds, first, the automatic appropriations are not part of the budget of the President. Correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And the unprogrammed funds are also not part of the budget. Correct?
They are not part of the budget. That is... we believe that that is not the part of the budget where the prohibition on increasing the ceiling is applicable.
Okay, I'll take that for now, under advisement. But the point is that, so if you say automatic appropriations is not part of the budget of the President, then I will ask you later to locate it in the Constitution. May I ask the Solicitor General to take the podium? Thank you, Madam Solicitor General. I hope that you had a good lunch. I understand that the Solicitor General's office provided for their own packed lunch.
Yes.
Yes, but just to inform you that we provided food for everybody else, just for disclosure purposes. So the amicus and the petitioners' counsel. But we thank you for saving the court some expense.
We did not want to assume that we will be included.
Yes, and please don't assume next week, next time again. That is fiscal discipline. Now, just to start off, so there is what is called a the budget of expenditures and sources of funds. This is called the BESF, just so we are familiar with the terminology. And the BESF is a part of the NEP, the National Expenditure Program, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the National Expenditure Program contains the BESF, the Budget for Expenditures and Sources of Funds, and a more detailed listing of the expenditures divided by purpose and divided by classification, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, plus the automatic appropriation, but
Yes.
only for information.
Yes. Yes, and it seems that is one of the issues that we have also for this case, that from your perspective, there are three parts. There is the program, there is the unprogrammed, and there is the automatic appropriation. But on the other end, they are classifying it only as programmed and unprogrammed. But that nonetheless, just so we are familiar with the figures. And then there is what is called a total expenditures for the program, a TEP, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And this is the total amount for the NEP that is proposed by the budget of the President, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Just so we're clear, the NEP, the National Expenditure Program, is otherwise called the President's budget, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. And after the President's budget goes through the House of Representatives, the House of Representatives produce a General Appropriations Bill, or what is often referred to as the GAB, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And after that, it is given to the Senate, and in the Senate, they just call it the bill on third reading, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And after that, if there are disagreeing provisions, they call a bicameral conference committee or a BCC, and this BCC therefore produces a proposed resolution where both houses will ratify, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And from there, they produce the General Appropriations Act for the signature of the President, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And after the GAA, the President exercises a different kind of veto. We will examine that later, which is called a line item veto, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the President signs the GAA within a set time. Otherwise, it will be reenacted. But along with the signature, the President formally communicates his vetoed items to the House and the Senate, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the House and the Senate may overturn the veto based on the Constitution by a two-thirds vote, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Now, do you recall the amount of unprogrammed funds proposed in the NEP, National Expenditure Program, of the President in 2024 for unprogrammed? You recall the amount?
Yes, Your Honor. I have it in my notes. The unprogrammed appropriation proposed by the President in the NEP for 2024 was 281
billion 908 million 056, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. How much was the approved on third reading in the GAB, the General Appropriations Bill of the House, in terms of unprogrammed appropriations?
Your Honor, I only have what's in the GAA.
It was 281 billion 908 million and 56, similar to the NEP.
Okay.
Would you know how much, in terms of unprogrammed appropriations, did the Senate approve before the BICAM? Again, it was 281 billion 908 056. So as far as we are concerned, in 2024, which is the subject of the petition of Lagman et al. And Pimentel et al., the NEP was 281 billion, the GAB was 281 billion, the Senate was 281 billion, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And how much was the proposal of the BICAM when it met to conciliate disagreeing provisions? How much in unprogrammed appropriations?
Your Honor, it is 731 billion 448.
So it was 731 billion. Okay?
Yes.
And just so we are clear, let's show the slide so everybody knows what we are talking about. So up there, you will see now, NEP 281, GAB 281, Senate 281, BICAM 731. Correct?
Correct.
Madam Solgen? And per your argument, this is something that we should respect because it is an act of wisdom on the part of both houses to increase what was not debated upon from 281 to 731, meaning that there was a difference of 449.5 billion added into unprogrammed appropriations, correct?
May I qualify my answer?
Yes,
Your
yes,
Honor?
please, go ahead.
It is a question of wisdom because when we say an act of wisdom, it might be ambiguous as to there's already a judgment if it was wise
Yes.
or not.
Yes.
And the hope of our hope is for the court to rule on a narrow question as to checking whether the power that was exercised by the Congress is within the constitutionally required constitutional requirements or if it was within the limitations that are provided by the Constitution, Your Honor.
Okay, I will take that for now. In terms of total expenditures under the NEP, the National Expenditure Program of the President in 2024, would you recall how much it was? It was 4,301,676 million and some thousands of pesos, correct?
In my notes, Your Honor, it is the total expenditure program is 5.7
For the NEP,
billion.
under the NEP,
For the
2024.
NEP,
It was 4.3, correct? At any point, Solgen, if the DBM representative is here, the chief has reminded me that you may consult with the Department of Budget and Management if they are here.
there are representatives of the DBM
Here. That's good to know because we might ask for an increase in the budget of the judiciary also. But that nonetheless, so it was 4.3 and in 2024, the total GAA expenditure was 4.7. Again, I put up the slides. correct me if I am wrong. In 2024, the NEP was 4.3, the GAA was 4.7. So in terms of the total, it was increased. And the NEP, correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Solgen, the NEP contained both program and unprogrammed, correct? The National Expenditure Program or the President's budget already contained a proposal for unprogrammed, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So the NEP is both programmed, automatic, and unprogrammed, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
But in 2026, which is also a budget in issue today, this is the petition of Congressman Erice, who was here, and Congressman De Lima. The NEP was 4.6 billion, correct?
For 2026.
Six. I put it up there. But what was actually approved by the houses, by both houses, and the President was lower. It was 4.646, with a corresponding decrease also in the unprogrammed appropriation, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, okay. So that we know what we're talking about, in 2024, we will start to put up now the additions in the unprogrammed fund that was included after not the third readings of the houses, both the House and the Senate, but after the BICAM. So the first slide will show you, let's put up the slide, Panay Guimaras Island Bridges Project, 3 billion. Universal access to quality tertiary education, 7 billion. This was from the program transferred into the unprogrammed, correct, Solgen?
Yes, Your Honor.
And universal access to quality tertiary education, would you know if there is a law that actually requires funding for this? Universal access to quality tertiary education.
May I confer, Your Honor, with my team?
Yes, you may defer your answer until, unless you have it now. Yes? Is this the Bama Aquino law? Yes, and this is the law that actually provides free tertiary education, which was first under the President's budget program. But in 2024, it was moved to unprogrammed. And later on, of course, we will ask questions about whether this is in fact not only constitutional, but whether it was legal that it is moved from one programmed item to unprogrammed. Then there is number 11, a quite interesting nomenclature, priority social programs for health, social welfare and development. It says priority, but this also came from program and it was transferred to unprogrammed, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. The AFP has been wanting modernization for a long time, but the revised AFP modernization program of 10 billion, is this billion? Yes, was transferred to unprogrammed funds, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. Then also, payment of right-of-way was transferred from program to unprogrammed, amount of 3 billion, correct? Yes.
Correct, Your Honor.
And then pre-feasibility studies, preliminary and detailed engineering, 3 billion. Later on, we will encounter this again. And then next, public-private partnership, strategic support fund, maintenance, repair, rehabilitation of infrastructure. Number 17 is interesting. Government counterpart of foreign assisted project in the amount of 51 billion. This is different from the item on foreign assisted projects that I will show you later. This came from program. This was a definite expenditure for government counterpart for foreign assisted projects. It was moved from the program funds to the unprogrammed. Then next, for the repair, rehabilitation, and expansion of Dalawag International Airport, I can only guess who transferred this. Payment of personnel benefits in number 19. Madam Solgen, you agree that 59 billion for payment of personal benefits was considered as unprogrammed from program, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then, pension and gratuity fund. This means that the retirement fund of a lot of our government employees, and I can only guess perhaps a portion of this, some of our judiciary personnel not covered by our existing law, 40 billion, 250 also to the unprogrammed, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then you have the libreng sakay became unprogrammed, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Also, the screening of anti-terrorist equipment, etc., unprogrammed. National Data Privacy Program, 620 million, became unprogrammed. Preparation for national election in 2025. Since there was no election, perhaps they moved it to unprogrammed. Construction and repair of NFA warehouse facilities, also unprogrammed. Development and modernization plan for the Iwahig. Then the next slide, you will see there, interestingly, acquisition of fire trucks became unprogrammed, not programmed. Then digital agriculture project also became unprogrammed. Then the next slide, aquaculture, fisheries, Marawi siege victims compensation program. This is the long-awaited compensation to the victims of Marawi. From program, it was transferred to unprogrammed. Supplementary feeding program, I think this was for younger kids that were indigents. Then, next slide, the creation of lawyer positions in the PAO became unprogrammed. Perhaps lawyers are not that important anyway. And then we have, finally, the last one, number 50, OWA Welfare Services. This is the office that produces support for OFWs, was also moved to the unprogrammed funds. This was in 2024. Oh, and total, at the end, there is local government support fund in the amount of 5 billion was moved from program to unprogrammed. We will ask you later what this is, what this item is all about, or perhaps some of my colleagues will be able to ask you if I cannot. And the total in terms of additions to unprogrammed was 303 billion, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
But this was not all. There was an increase in the already set items for unprogrammed. And the first one was mentioned by one of our amici, and she called it a new pork barrel. I will not go to that extent because that may be a legal terminology, but it is definitely perhaps a lump sum item, which was covered also in the case of Arroyo, Belgica, especially the Belgica of 2013, penned by Justice Ben. So the NEP proposed that the SAGIP program was only 50 billion, but in 2024, this lump sum was increased to 225 billion pesos, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And for support to foreign-assisted projects, maybe they were, as one of our amici was saying, they were predicting that some of the foreign-assisted projects in the pipeline might be approved. It was increased from 117 to 178, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
So this is the situation that I think all of us are agreed upon, which is now at issue, because 2024, as shown by our various amici, was the year where there was an extraordinary increase in the amount of unappropriated, unprogrammed funds, not unappropriated, but unprogrammed funds. Okay, now let us proceed. The concept, let's talk about the architecture in our Constitution, because we need to talk about the various provisions in context so everybody understands it. So the Constitution does not give one branch of government what is usually referred to as the power of the purse, because the power of the purse is big and consistent with the architecture of the Constitution. The contents of that power are distributed among constitutional departments and organs. Do you agree?
I agree, Your Honor.
And the basic idea behind separation of powers is to prevent tyranny and ultimately to increase accountability, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
The separation of powers doctrine assumes that unchecked power tend towards tyranny. So liberty requires institutional restraints within government, assigning functions to distinct organs. The structure expresses a rule of law ideal, which is that governments must proceed in temporarily ordered phases: legislation, administration, adjudication, and accountability, rather than through undifferentiated sovereign will. You agree?
I agree, Your Honor.
And appropriation and spending funds are critical for governance. You agree?
I agree, Your Honor.
Appropriation and spending funds is not only because of whim, but it is part of an overall plan of the executive and hopefully with the participation of the legislative. And in our case, as presented by one of the amici, there is actually a Philippine Development Plan, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And it is from 2023 to 2028, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. Just to take note, the court has an SPJI, strategic plan also, and we are implementing it with budgeting also here. So, but in a political economy where there is a deficit of equality, where there is poverty, and when therefore there is a lot of disempowerment, with most of our people being only able to govern through voting and dissent and criticism, the extent of prerogative of those in departments or constitutional organs must be clearly and adequately defined. Do you agree?
I agree, Your Honor.
And in interpreting the Constitution, though, apart from this purpose, we must be mindful as the court that the judiciary, unlike the executive and the legislative, is not possessed with complete, current, and contingent information. You agree?
Agree, Your Honor.
And that the executive must also be given some appropriate leeway by both this court and Congress to address the current situation. You agree?
I agree, Your Honor.
And that laws, including the General Appropriations Act, are frameworks and limits plans of action, but they do not and should not unduly shackle the executive to address what has not been fully foreseen despite reasonable and diligent efforts, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Like the situation we have today, that when the budget was passed, no one could have imagined what will happen in the Middle East, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And but I am sure, and we are witness to the fact that both the House and the Senate are currently investigating, holding hearings in aid of legislation to see what they can do to supplement whatever powers are needed by the President to address the current situation. In fact, they passed a law allowing the President to suspend excise taxes, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. In other words, we should be mindful that we should not straitjacket the reading of the text of the Constitution, even with precedents, and make sure that the Constitution should be a living but empowering document, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes, empowering but also a document with accountability, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Because as Richard Posner said, the Constitution is a living document, but it is not a suicide pact, correct? In other words, the Constitution is a living document. However, it's not a suicide pact. In other words, all the departments must be rational in terms of arriving at their own conclusions with respect to their own power canalized, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And for the purpose of exercising the power of the purse, just so that we are all clear, this is divided as follows. The executive, the president, and there's only one executive in the Constitution, it's the president, and everybody is the alter ego, prepares the budget, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
The legislature, and that is Congress, with the House acting first, authorizes or appropriates, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Then the president, and the president only, spends or executes with clarification, again, by our case in 2013, that the legislature has no participation in the post-enactment or execution stage. You agree?
Agree, Your Honor.
And the Commission on Audit, as a constitutional organ, checks on the expenditures, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
The Ombudsman can prosecute, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And the judiciary, of course, is tasked with interpreting the boundaries of these powers as contained in the text of the Constitution and in statutes, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Now, during your presentation, in your opening statement, you mentioned the case of KMU versus Aquino. Do you recall in what context? That KMU versus Aquino is the ponensya that actually said that the court respects that all the organs of government can have first crack at the interpretation of the text of the Constitution, and it respects that, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
But then there is also some wording in that case that says that in the final analysis, it is the duty of this court to give a final reading, correct or wrong, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. Would you know how I know?
You were the ponente.
Yes, I was the ponente, and the case was unanimous in terms of this court. Okay, now let's look at the actual provisions in the budgetary process so that we are also clear. To look at the architecture of the Constitution, we start with the basic provision in Article 6, Section 29. So it's up there. No money shall be paid out of the Treasury except in pursuance of an appropriation made by law. You agree with me that this single provision shows the relationship between the executive and the legislature, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. Is there any other money that can be spent by government that is not in the Treasury mentioned in the Constitution?
No, none, Your Honor.
All collections are submitted to the Treasury except for fiscally autonomous institutions like the judiciary, because there is a separate provision in the Constitution for that, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. So the whole cycle includes preparation of the budget, appropriation, budget execution, and budget audit. Agree?
I agree, Your Honor.
The issues we now face are generally about that stage of authorization or appropriation, correct?
Correct.
With its impact on preparation and execution, but principally about authorization. You agree?
I agree, Your Honor.
So, in terms of preparation, the provision, the basic provision on the part of the executive is Article 7, Section 22, which states that the President shall submit to the Congress within 30 days as basis for the General Appropriations Bill a budget of expenditures and sources of financing, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. And the budget of expenditures and sources of financing in the current interpretation, in practice, contemporary executive interpretation, and in the law as contained in the administrative code, the BESF is actually the budget of expenditures and sources of financing, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And it says including receipts from existing and proposed revenue measures, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
At some point, we will see that the word including is contested by the respondents and one of the petitioners. But it's very clear here that the President only submits one budget, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Because it says a budget of expenditures and sources of financing. We will relate this later to Section 25, subparagraph 1, in relation to the increases in the budget of the President, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes, and the budget contains, you agree with me, sources of financing, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. Now, parenthetically, no, here. Does this provision allow deficits? In other words, is there anything in our Constitution that says that our budget must always be a balanced budget?
None, Your Honor.
Madam Soljan, just to be clear, what is a balanced budget?
A balanced budget, Your Honor, is you have expenditures, and the expenditures will have to be supported by the sources of financing.
Yes. So, would you say, so this allows for, this statement and the Constitution allows that the President actually tells Congress, we are going to have a deficit, correct? Based on the projected revenues as well as the expenditures, that we will have deficits, correct?
Can you repeat your question?
In other words, that the Constitution allows the President to communicate to Congress through the NEP and through the budget of expenditures and sources of finance, that we are expecting to have a budgetary deficit, which means that our current income revenues coming from tax and non-tax measures will not be sufficient to cover the proposed authorization of expenses, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. Sa madalit salita, pwedeng sabihin ng Pangulo sa ating Kongreso na ang kanyang budget ay kulang sa revenue, pero mas marami ang expenditures. Tama?
Tama, Your Honor.
Yes.
May I clarify
Yes.
also? In our briefings by the DBM, what we understand is that even the deficit spending is being planned, and part of
Yes.
there is a deficit framework.
Yes.
Globally, there could be a target level which is accepted as an acceptable level, and it will depend on our executive branch
Yes.
as to what that level is.
Actually, later, we will go into a bit of the economics just to make sure that people know that this is legitimate to have a deficit financing. I will not go into it with you. I will go into it with some of my former professors. And I do so with a lot of trepidation because I did get a high grade in basic economics from Professor Monsod and also a higher grade in public finance from Professor Dr. Jokno. And I don't know if they can recall those grades now. But in any case, subject to contempt of court, of course. So deficits are there. Mainly, they can be filled in by income. Let us say they did not predict that there was high dividends from one of our government-owned and controlled corporation, non-tax revenue, correct?
Correct.
Or perhaps a new tax that would be passed by government, correct?
Correct.
Or a good performance of our economy, therefore increasing the amount that we collect in, let us say, value-added tax because there is more transactions, correct?
Correct, Your
So also, it can be filled in by borrowings.
Correct.
Such as, for instance, when the Monetary Board issues a treasury bill of different maturities depending on their monetary policy, and these are actually borrowings that we have, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And technically speaking, all our currency is in a debt, except that we will not get into that, correct?
Thank you, Your Honor.
And that it is also possible that we borrow from foreign sources, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And with respect to foreign sources, that is also regulated by the Constitution, more specifically Section 20. which actually says that that we can contract, the President may contract foreign loans only with the prior concurrence of the Monetary Board, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And that the Constitution also says the discretion of the Monetary Board and the President to contract foreign loans can be regulated also by Congress because it says as may be provided by law, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And that at the end of each calendar year, there is a submission to the Congress so that they can monitor our foreign loans and what we have guaranteed. There is a report, correct?
Correct.
And that the manner of this report can be governed also by law, correct?
Correct.
So there is a check and balance with respect to foreign borrowings, and this was wisely included in our 87 Constitution. It was not in our 35 Constitution by the constitutional commissioners. One of them is actually present in the session hall right now in the person of Commissioner Christian Monsod, correct?
Correct.
Yes, and I had the privilege of being a research assistant of a constitutional commissioner. I carried the briefcase of one of them at that time, so I know how they thought in a while. Okay, and domestic borrowings. Who authorizes domestic borrowings? If you know,
May I confer? Your
the Monetary Board for Treasury bills, etc., and others. Okay, now all these proposed borrowings, should they be indicated in the budget of expenditures and sources of financing?
It should be included.
So it is there. It is part of the premise of the budget that is given there. They are going to say, the President is going to say in the BESF that there are going to be loans. So in other words, the NEP already contains all the premises for all types of budget, program, unprogrammed, etc. Correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. And now let's look at authorization, just so we're on the same page. One of the main bases and the point of contention is Section 29, well, not really contention, but 29, subparagraph 1 and 3 of Article 6. So we already mentioned subparagraph 1, and then there is the concept of a special fund. And this was interrogated by the court in the latest case of involving PhilHealth with Justice Ami as the ponencia, for which our amici, Professor Monsod said, we did something good, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. So there is a special fund to be differentiated from a special appropriations law. There are laws that create special funds, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Very briefly, are these special funds the SAGF, special allotments in the general fund? Is this the same?
The special fund, if the law that provides for the special fund says that it is automatically appropriated every year, then it goes to SAGF, it goes to an account.
So all special funds are or should be in SAGFs, correct? And not all SAGFs are special funds.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Incidentally, the legislature is also involved in terms of taxation as a revenue source, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
So therefore, when the President says that in the BESF that it will request for new revenue sources, it will in fact be signaling to Congress that they will be proposing new taxes, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes, and this is covered in Section 28. I will just flash it briefly, just so we know. Now, there are limits to what Congress can do with respect to the President's budget, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And let's read and parse the provisions very carefully before we go into further interpellation. So let us look at Section 25, subparagraph 1. There are two sentences there. The first one is, Congress may not increase the appropriations recommended by the President for the operation of the government as specified in the budget. Correct?
Correct, Your
Very clear. And it says, the appropriations recommended by the President for the operation of government as specified in the budget. Correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Now, Madam Solgen, there is another word, the same word budget, that appears in Article 7, the President, correct? That was Section 22, where it said the President shall propose a budget of expenditures and sources of financing, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
As part of the NEP, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
So therefore, here it is clear that whatever is in the NEP should not be increased by Congress.
Your Honor, may I?
You will qualify.
Yes.
Because for you, the unprogrammed funds No, first, the automatic appropriations are not part of the budget of the President, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And the unprogrammed funds are also not part of the budget, correct?
They are not part of the budget that is, we believe that that is not the part of the budget where the prohibition on increasing the ceiling is applicable.
Okay, I'll take that for now, under advisement. But the point is that, so if you say automatic appropriations is not part of the budget of the President, then I will ask you later to locate it in the Constitution where it is. And the other point is it possible that the unprogrammed funds is not in Section 1, subsection 1, but in subsection 4? A special appropriations bill shall specify the purpose for which it is intended and shall be supported by funds actually available as certified by the National Treasurer or to be raised by a corresponding revenue proposed therein, as suggested by one of our amici, a justice of this court in one recent case, and some of the petitioners, that unprogrammed can be disciplined using subparagraph 4. What is the position of government?
It is the position of government that the Special Appropriations Bill is a separate provision in the Constitution. The Congress has the option. It can be invoked, it can be passed, and historically has been passed. In our study and survey of the different Special Appropriations Bill, the length of time could be as, I think I saw...
We can go to the difficulty of passing a special appropriations bill at some point, and it can be part of the query, I think, of some of the justices. But as far as I'm concerned, I just want to locate where you see automatic appropriation. You say that it is not in subsection 1, and you're asking the court to actually make a ruling for the first time that automatic appropriation is not part of the GAA.
Okay, the automatic appropriations, we say that it is not part of the President's budget because the NEP, which is the President's budget, is presented to the Congress for their approval. However, the automatic appropriations, our premise is that it already has an approval. So we were actually asking the DBM, then why are you including it in the budget, which could be a source of confusion? Because people will just look at the totals, but and their explanation is that for fiscal programming and for transparency, so that it is informing Congress of the total allocation, including the allocations for the automatic appropriation. So in that sense,
it is only for disclosure, in your words,
yes.
in your comment, in your omnibus comment. It is for disclosure, not for purpose of appropriation, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, but there is a purpose for subparagraph 1, and we can go to that later. And whether that squares with your characterization of automatic appropriations is there. And indeed, this court has just ruled in the case of Giao versus Pagcor, where it actually said that there is an automatic release of Pagcor funds to it's Giao versus Philippine Sports Commission from Pagcor et al. But we will get to that later. In any case, just to flag the different points of view of the parties in relation to unprogrammed appropriations. Now, at issue also is, to a certain extent, presidential certification. I think this was raised by, if I'm not mistaken, the pleading of Pimentel et al., former Senator Pimentel. And what is at issue is the concept of when the president can certify, and flashing to you on the screen, except when the president certifies the necessity of its immediate enactment to meet a public calamity or emergency. So later on, I will ask you, because of the certification, was it possible to ratify the BCC, the Bicameral Committee Conference report, in just the same day that it was distributed? Okay. Just for our information, how thick is the General Appropriations Act? It is a few feet, no, inches.
3 to 4.
Thousands of
4
pages.
volumes.
Yes, and thousands of pages, correct?
Correct.
So they will have the NEP with them, and they will also have the GAA with them, and in between, they have the GAB, they have the Senate version, and they have the Bicameral Conference Committee report. The big one and the small committee report for 2024 and 25, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes. So you admit that there was a small committee conference report? Not yet.
I have,
Just so I am very clear that it is in fact there, that there was a bicameral conference committee report and preceded by a small committee report.
I have not seen a small committee report,
Okay.
Your Honor.
Yes, because I asked you and I wanted you to be more deliberate and conscious, just so the transcript will not show that the government has admitted. Okay, now, appropriations is a special kind of law. It is not an ordinary law. This applies to general laws and perhaps also special kinds of law. Appropriations is a special kind of law because first, it originates from the House, Article 6, Section 24. Second, the President has line item veto on this particular law and no other. Third is by the end of the fiscal year, it immediately lapses, unlike any ordinary general law. It does not immediately lapse, it is reenacted, correct?
Correct.
Yes, and there is in fact a position from one of the petitioners, because of the automatic reenactment, what is always the national emergency involved in passing a law? Just so we're clear that we acknowledge that there is that issue and you had your own response, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.